Today, we continue to study Greek grammar, demonstrative adjective. Before we start today's class, today is the fourth class on year 2026. Happy New Year, everybody. And not only the student who study with me every Wednesday evening here, but also anybody and everybody and who study through Stauros Bible Academy YouTube channel. In Asian culture, year 2026 is considered the year of the red horse. You know, every year we have 12 different animals based upon Korean philosophy, and it rotating. So 2026 is the horse, and then there's 4 different colors. So this year is the red horse. Red horse symbolize a year combining the passion of the color red and with the dynamic energy of the horse. So may this year be a year of powerful progress for all of us in Stauros Bible Academy family as we walk in the Lord Christos Jesus, and we live our lives as the sons living of the God and God's living of the God. So we are accompanied with Christos Jesus. We are in the same way, and we are showing the way. We are showing the truth. We are showing the life of God. That is our mission, and that is our duty that we are keep marching on this year also. We are here in the Greek grammar, demonstrative adjective. We have been studying many hours, and from the last year, today also we continue to study demonstrative adjective. As you see here in the textbook, demonstrative adjective show as the APD, which is the adjective pronominal demonstrative. Anyhow, before I start today's class, I would like to announce one more things. I had been translated from the New Testament Greek text into English and Korean. And Korean is my first language, and English is my second language. I had been literal translate from Greek text into American English and Korean since 2016. So it has been 10 years. As of today in the morning, I complete the entire New Testament Bible that consists of 27 Bible, and I complete the translation. So it took me 10 years work, and the initial translation, which I call the literal translation, has completed. I named this Bible as the Stauros Jun Bible, and that is the acronym I put SJB, because Jun is my first name. And as I finish entire New Testament Bible Greek translation, at the same time, or Greek word dictionary in New Testament Bible has completed also. So from tomorrow, I'm going to recording based upon SJB Bible, Stauros Jun Bible, and then explain and based upon the Greek text why that verse has to translate in that way. At the same time, I would like to introducing the word study, all those format. I don't know how long it will take to complete entire 27 Bible in that way, but we have a mission that is given by God. And God gave me the grace to translate without having any problem, and from the Greek text into English and Korean. So I appreciate everyone who support me to complete in this way, and I give thanks to the Lord and the true God and Christos Jesus. So let's keep marching on 2026 as the believers, as the sons of light and sons of the day. The grammatical point here, APD, adjective, pronominal, demonstrative, that is, these, that, these, and those, they are used to point out specific people or things. And then we study the third example Bible verses that comes from the New Testament John chapter 6 verse 29. And Greek text show tuto, esti, to, ergon, tu, deu. So tuto is the adjective, pronominal, demonstrative in the Greek morphological analysis code. And then nominative, neuter, singular. So tuto translated as this. So this is the work of the God. The work of the God and God's work. And we are going to study based upon the John chapter 6:29. And before we are getting into John chapter 6:29, and throughout the last year, we had been studying from the Genesis chapter 1 verse 1 until the last class is Genesis chapter 1 verse 31. And we are keep going to study until Genesis chapter 2 verse 3. That is entire 7 days process, my spiritual growing process, one day through the 7th day. That is the work of the God. God is work. And God is work inside me. So I start as the first Adam. And through the second Adam, who is the Christos Jesus, to become the last Adam, life-giving spirit. That is the title of entire 66 Bible. God's work. So until the last class, we had been studying the 6 days God's work, Genesis chapter 1 verse 31, as you see here in the screen here. So Genesis 1:31, God's work is the 6th day. That is work of the God. We call the Elohim. So the first block here, he begins to see Elohim, the beginning and complete all that he has done. And then the second block, and behold, very good. So we still study the number 2, second block, very good. Because the 6th day in my salvation process is the process of becoming a very good human being of the God. And we look at that based upon the 2 Timothy chapter 3 verse 17. At the same time, we study since John chapter 5 verse 24 until last class, John chapter 5 verse 28, which is the resurrection of life. So 6th day is the day whether I becoming a very good human being of the God in the 7th day or very bad human being of the God, which called the resurrection of condemnation, resurrection of judgment. This is happening in my 6th day. And to become the very good human being of the God, this happened by hearing the word of the Christos Jesus, who is the Son of the God. So we had been studying using the John chapter 5 verse 24. Let's go there. Start from 24. Most assuredly I say to you, he who hears my word. This is a hearing the word of the Christos Jesus to become the very good. And believes into him, not in him, believes into him, sent me has everlasting life, and shall not come into judgment, has passed from the death into life. So when I hear the word of the Christos Jesus, until that time, our status is under the death. We are not possessing the life of the God, which is the resurrection. So 25 says, most assuredly I say to you, hours come, and now, which is the sixth day, when the dead will hear the voice of the Son of the God. Those who hear will live. And then we went to the verse 28. Do not marvel at this, hours come, in which all who are in the graves will hear his voice, which is the seventh-day trumpet that sound by the Son of the God, and come forth those who have done good to the resurrection of life, those who have done evil to the resurrection of condemnation. So sixth day, it will happen in this way. So because we are studying in that way, the grave, that is we are under death status, and we went to Old Testament Bible, Ezekiel chapter 37. Because Ezekiel chapter 37 is talking about the dry bone, and the dry bone is, they are open up the tomb and grave and get out of the tomb. That story is showing in the Ezekiel chapter 37. So until the last class, we study Ezekiel chapter 37 verse 1 through verse 9. So today, we are going to start to study continuation from the last class, Ezekiel chapter 37 verse 10. Let's go there. So we have a foreunderstanding. The dry bone, who is under the death, who is in the grave, and it comes forth resurrection of life by receiving the Spirit of the God, which John chapter 5 is talking about, voice of the Son of God. Let's go, Ezekiel chapter 37. Today, start from the verse 10. The English Bible says, so I prophesied as he commanded me, and breath came into them, and they lived, and stood upon their feet, an exceedingly great army. Again, it's not the breath, right? Let's look at the Hebrew text and compare with English Bible. So here, so I prophesied, so the C is the verb, is the end. Instead of so, we put and, right? This is the BTA. T is the heat pile, which is an intensive reflexive action. And then this is a perfect, common, fourth person singular. So this is a perfect. I have prophesied as he has commanded me. And bo is the card verb imperfect. So imperfect, I always want. It's the beginning and starting point, right? Begin to come. Come. Bet is the preposition in. So come in them. Them is the dry bone, right? Which is the house of Israel. Dry bone is the house of Israel. Then what is come? You see, feminine third person singular. That is right here, feminine singular. So ruach is not breath, right? Ruach is what? Spirit. So Spirit of God begin to come in dry bone, that house of Israel. And then previously is showing the, instead of the Spirit, the water, right? Because water is the Spirit. The water is the living water that comes from the throne of God, throne of Lamb, based upon the book of Revelation chapter 22 verse 1. So once the Spirit begin to come in, dry bone, that is the house of Israel, or that dry bone house of Israel, again, carb of imperfect, they begin to leave. And carb of imperfect again, and they begin to stand. They begin to stand upon their feet. And then meod, very, very great army. You see, this is a meod that we study same thing. Genesis 1:31, we just look at that. When we go Genesis 1:31, there is a meod, right? Very good. You see here? Very good. Very good is the meod. Same thing. Ezekiel chapter 37 verse 10. Meod. Exceedingly, very, very great army. So whenever the God's Spirit enters into me, I as a dry bone, I begin to become His army. So the John chapter 5 is talking about resurrection of life, resurrection of condemnation. When I hear the voice of the Son of the God, that it turns out whoever becomes coming forth the resurrection of life, and they are becoming the what? They are becoming the great army. The Spirit of God, we already learned. Spirit of God is based upon the Greek word is what? Chrema, right? This is a neuter, the word of the God in the neuter form, right? Because chrema is the Spirit, chrema is the life of the God. We go to the New Testament John, chapter 6, verse 63. Jesus says, it is the Spirit, God's Spirit. God's Spirit gives life. It is not the breath. That's why Ezekiel 37 verse 10, it's not the breath, it is the Spirit. Hebrew word is ruach. So ruach is the one gives the life of God. The flesh profit nothing. The words, we look at the words on the right side is a chrema word. The neuter words, instead of the masculine noun, there is the logos. So the neuter words, chrema, I speak to you are what? Spirit. So whoever hear the neuter words of the God, that is giving the life, that is the Spirit. So Spirit and life is the chrema word. That chrema word comes from the mouth of God, right? When we go to the Matthew chapter 4, verse 4, Jesus answered and said, it is written, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word, right? Every word. Look at the right side. Every word is the neuter word, which is a chrema, Spirit and life, that proceeding out of the mouth of God. Look at the mouth of God. There is no definite article, God, right? Mouth of God. 7 days man's mouth, they are the one speaking the chrema word from the mouth of God. It comes out the Spirit, it comes out the life, it comes out the chrema word. It is all same thing. That's why whoever hear the chrema word, whoever hear the seventh-day man who has the mouth of God and dry bone is stand up on their feet, and they become the very, very great army that is beginning process. That's why they put the carb of imperfect. It is not perfect. As you see here, carb of imperfect. They begin to stand up. Here, they begin to live. As soon as ha-ruach, the Spirit, begin to come in dry bones. So 7th day, we finally becoming the great army. And 6th day, That's why car verb imperfect. We are begin to become. About the army, there is a seventh day. We are going to study eventually when we go to Genesis, after finish 131, when we go to the Genesis chapter 2 verse 2. You see here, the heaven and the earth, or the host of them. And we are going to study more detail. When you look at the host of them, Java. Java is another army. When you go to strong number 6635, Hebrew 6635. Java is what? Regularly organized for army, for war, that called the army. But here army, it is not the Java, it is the Hayil. Hayil translate army, that is also translated as force, which is the strengthen and force power of the God. Let's go to the dictionary also, 2428. Hebrew 2428. You see here army, right? And then Hayil. And then BDB dictionary, same thing. Strength, might, efficiency, wealth, army. So this is the army. And we become the tense. Because 12 means, 12 disciple, when we learn 12 means, 2 is a transform. 10 means the rich, transform to become rich, rich man. So we are able to give the food, which is the food of the Christos Jesus, food of the daily life, eternal life, life-giving spirit. That's why here it says force and army. Another type of word is the Hayil. So whenever the spirit come into them, the dry bone receive the spirit, Rhema word, and resurrection of life, they become the very, very great army. Meod, Gadol, Hayil. So about the army, when we go to the New Testament Bible, it's showing the couple of places. Let's go to the 2 Timothy chapter 2, start from verse 1. You therefore, my son. Apostle Paul is talking to the Timothy. He called the Timothy my beloved son, because I have begotten you in gospel. Seventh-day man is doing the witnessing and proclaiming the kingdom of the God. And whoever hear, whoever believing the gospel of peace. And we all become the son. So that's why Apostle Paul is talking to the Timothy, my son. Be strong in the grace that is in Christos Jesus. Whenever we receive grace, we are doing the childbearing, right? Which is spiritually, we are giving away the truth of the God. And the things that you have heard from me. So Apostle Paul is giving the knowledge of the God. And among many witnesses, commit this to faithful men who will be able to teach others also. You therefore must endure hardship as a good soldier of Jesus Christ. Good soldier of Jesus Christ is the one who received the Spirit of the God and who become the great army. Then what are they doing as a great army based upon the 2 Timothy here? Army is the one who is able to teach others. That's why teacher is the seventh-day man, right? We can come back to here. We're going to study again on the seventh day here, Genesis chapter 2. On the seventh day, God ended his work. We already studied a little bit about the work. When you look at the right side, Melaka. Melaka is the God's work. So this is the seventh day's God's work begin to complete. begin to finish. This is a PL verb imperfect. So what is the God's work one day through the seventh day? 43:99, when we go there, 43:99. So English translated as work. The Hebrew word pronunciation is the malaka. This is a noun feminine, same as the masculine noun 43:97. Malak is the messenger. Messenger is the, you see here, teacher. So prophet, priest, teacher, who is able to delivering the message of God. That is the work of the great army here in the seventh day. Sixth day is the carb verb imperfect, the starting point, beginning point, by receiving the Spirit of the God, Hrema word. So go back to the 2 Timothy chapter 2. So you will be able to teach others. Then teaching what? Gospel of peace. Gospel of Christos, right? Because there is the another gospel, another Jesus, different spirit, different gospel. Then you are able to teaching the true gospel, gospel of peace, gospel of Christos. Then whoever is able to teaching others, that is the good soldier of Jesus Christ. Teaching is not easy, we know that. About the teaching, we went to the Hebrew chapter 6. In order to teach, you have to become a adult man, right? Oh, chapter 5, Hebrew chapter 5. For though by this time, verse 12, you ought to be a teachers. So my beloved son, who taught by the apostle Paul and Timothy becomes the teacher. Teacher is the good soldier of the Christos Jesus. You need someone to teach you again. So this case, people does not become a teacher yet. And the fourth principle of the oracle of God, you have come to need milk, not a solid food. But everyone who takes only of milk is unskilled in the word of righteousness. Then teacher is the skilled in the word of righteousness, right? Because baby is the one only need of milk. They are not teacher yet. So solid food belong to those who are full age, which becomes the adult man and perfect man. That is those who by reason of use have their senses exercised to discern both the good and evil. So God's good becomes my good. God's evil becomes my evil. We become the teacher, teaching the gospel of peace as the seventh day man. Go back to the 2 Timothy chapter 2 again. That is the teacher. Teacher is the good soldier of Jesus Christ. That's why it is not easy. That's why you need to endure the hardship. If you look at the endure hardship, is the kakopateo. Endure hardship, which means suffer and endure hardship and trouble. Because suffering experiences while preaching and teaching the gospel, right? That's why when we coming down, this is a verse 3. When we coming down verse 9, for which I suffer trouble. Same thing, suffer trouble, same thing, kakopateo. As an evildoer, even to the point of chains, but the word of God is not chained. Therefore I endure all things for the sake of the elect. We are chosen by Christos Jesus. They also may obtain the salvation. So teacher is the one who saved, who is able to give the salvation. That is in Christos, Jesus, with eternal glory. Then to become a teacher, we go through the crucified together, right? So go up to verse 3 here. So endure that hardship as a good soldier of Christos Jesus. No one entangled in warfare entangled himself with the affairs of this life. Because a good soldier of Jesus Christ, they do not entangle himself with the affairs of this life. Look at this life in the Greek word here. This life is the bios. Bios is the natural, physical life. When we go to the dictionary, 979, Greek 979, this is a natural physical life and present state of bodily existence, the means of livelihood, which is we gotta do something to maintain our physical life, right? But we do not entangle myself with the affairs of physical life, that he may please God, Christos Jesus, who enlists him as a soldier. Whoever entangled himself this physical life, they are not able to become a good soldier of Christ. Because what is existing the bios, natural physical life? When we go to the 1 John chapter 2, verse 16 is talking about the bios. All that is in the world, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life. Look at the pride of life. Pride of life is the, you see here, bios. Pride of your physical life and natural life. That is not out of the Father. That is not out of the true God. That is out of the world. The world is passing away. First earth, first heaven, pass away, and the lust of it. But he does the will of the God, who become the good soldier of the Christ, who become the seventh-day man, abides forever. So we are the soldier of the Christos as the 7 days man. Then 6th day, by receiving the Spirit, Hrema word, mouth of God, hearing the 7th-day man, hearing the life and the Spirit, we begin to become the very, very great army. And another one, when we go to the army, book of Revelation, we went there before, chapter 19. When we're coming down, verse 14, the armies in heaven, clothed in fine linen, white and clean, followed Christos Jesus on white horses. But here it says follow, but if you look at the right side, akolyuteo, accompany with him, being in the same way in Christos Jesus. When we go to the dictionary 190, English translate like here follow, but this means to be in the same way. Because A is the alpha, union alpha, kolyuteo is the keleutos or road. We are in the same way, same road. Christos Jesus' way becomes my way. Christos Jesus' truth becomes my truth. Christos Jesus' life becomes my life. We accompany with Christos Jesus, not to follow. And we are clothed in the fine linen. This fine linen actually showing up the verse 8 here. To her, who become the wife of the Christos Jesus, who become the New Jerusalem, holy city, that is the to her. It was granted to be arrayed in the fine linen, fine linen. In order to become a good soldier of Christ, in order for me to become the armies in the heaven, we have to be arrayed in the fine linen, clean and bright. What is the fine linen? Fine linen is the righteous act. Righteous act, we have to do it. Righteous act means we are working according to the Spirit, not according to the flesh. when we go to the righteous act, Romans chapter 8, we are in the Christos Jesus. Because here says, there is therefore now no condemnation, no judgment to those who are in Christos Jesus. Because we do not walk according to the flesh, we walk according to the Spirit. According to the Spirit means we are under the law of Spirit of life that is in the Christos Jesus. We are not under the law of sin. We are not under the law of death. We get out of the law of sin, law of death. We are in the law of Spirit of life, which is the resurrection life. So when we coming down, the righteous requirement of the law might be fulfilled in us who do not walk according to the flesh, but according to the Spirit. So we are the one walk according to the Spirit. That is the righteous act. Go back to the Revelation 19. Coming down to 14. Then we become the armies in heaven. And we clothe in fine linen. We walk, we think according to the Spirit. That is the law of Spirit of life. Resurrection law. Then army in heaven is the one who become the true word living of the God, right? We already learned about that one. When we going to the verse 9 here, he said to me, right, blessed are those who are called to the marriage supper of the Lamb. We become the new Jerusalem. And he said to me, these are the true saying of God. And we correct this one. It is not saying. When you look at the Greek word here, saying, this is a logoi, which is a plural form of the logos. True word living of the God, tuteo. We become a true word living of the God. We become the God's living. That called the armies in heaven. So good soldier of Christ is the army in the heaven. Because we accompany with Christos Jesus. Because Christos Jesus himself is the word of the God. And we become the armies in the heaven. We become the true word living of the God. When we go to the book of Revelation chapter 14, it called the 144,000. Chapter 14, then I look and behold the Lamb standing on Mountain Zion, and with him 144,000. We study about the meaning of 144 and 1,000, all those things based upon the meaning of the Hebrew. And his father's name written on their forehead. They are the one who become the armies in heaven. Their armies of heaven, they went through the crucifixion, right? Verse 4 says, these are the one who were not defiled with woman, which is the mother of harlotry, Babylon, because they are the virgin. They are not the adulteresses. And these are the one who follow the Lamb, accompanied with Christos Jesus. Wherever he goes, they were redeemed from among men, being first fruit to the God, to the Lamb, and their mouth was found no deceit, because their mouth become the mouth of God, speaking the Chrema word, life and the Spirit. And they are without fault before the throne of God. They possess what? They possess the everlasting gospel. They are able to preach and teach. When we go to the New Testament Hebrew, chapter 12, going down to verse 22. You have come to Mountain Zion. Mountain Zion is the Jerusalem. And to the city of the living God. Heavenly Jerusalem, new heaven and earth. To an innumerable company of messengers, we become the seventh-day man. To the general assembly and church of the firstborn, we also become the first fruit, who are registered in heaven. Our names in the book of Bible, book of life. To God, the judge of all, the spirit of just man made perfect. To Jesus, the mediator of the new covenant, because we drinking his blood, drinking my blood in my flesh. Jesus said that, mediator of the new covenant. He say, this blood is my new covenant, right? And to the blood of sprinkling that speaks better things than that of Abel. We go through the crucifixion by drinking the blood of Christos Jesus, who is our mediator. They are the 144,000. They are the armies in heaven. So go back to again the armies in heaven, book of Revelation chapter 19. And then 15, verse 15. There are armies in heaven, and now out of his mouth goes a sharp sword. Because sword, we have the chrema of the God, right? Mouth of God. And with it, he should strike the nation. He himself will rule them with a rod of iron. He himself tread the winepress of the furnace and wrath of Almighty God. So we are not only save others, but also whoever does not accept the word of the God, they will automatically under the judgment, right? We learned about that example when we went to Matthew chapter 10, and then Jesus sent out the 12 disciples, and then Jesus say, whoever will not receive you nor hear your words, when you depart from that house or city, shake up the dust from your feet. Assuredly I say to you, it will be more tolerable for the land of Sodom, Gomorrah in the day of judgment, or that city. So whoever receive us, and they will receive the salvation. Whoever reject us, they will come under the judgment. That's why here it says, therefore, whoever confess me before men, him I will also confess before my Father who is in heaven. But whoever denies me before men, him I will also deny before my Father who is in heaven. So our life start to begin to become the very, very exceedingly great army. Let's go to the Ezekiel 37:11, next verse. Then he said to me, Son of man. Actually, they translate Son of Man. If you look at the right side, Son of Adam, right? I was explained the meaning of the Adam a couple of times. I would like to explain one more time using this opportunity. Adam is the anthropos in the Greek word. Anthropos is the Adam, right? When we learn the Hebrew alphabet meaning, Aleph is the myself, which is also personal human nature. And then Aleph is the 1,000 in number, right? In number. And then when Aleph becomes the verb, it means to learn, to learn. And then to learn, to teach. So my personal human nature, through the learning process, learning the truth of God, I am able to teach. That is the 1,000 process. 1,000 years becomes the one day becomes the 1,000 years, right? So that is the first one, Adam's first alphabet. And then last one is the mem. Mem is the water. And we look at that as we study Ezekiel chapter 37. Water is the spirit also, right? And spirit is the chrema word, right? Chrema word, right? There is the life. Life in the spirit, which is a God's life, right? And then this mem is the what? It is all closed water. Water is contained inside, right? That is the final form, mem. But regular form, mem is the open, right? Water is opened. This is the water closed. And then dalet is the door. And then when it becomes the verb, draw, right? So you draw the water spirit hrema word through the learning to teach your personal human nature. So Adam is the one draw the water. Teaching the water, learning the water to teaching the water, that is our personal human nature. So Adam is the one who is in the journey of the God's life. That is Adam. The rest of the category, any beast, any other category, bird that we learned already, they are not the Adam. They are not the human being. Their personal human nature is not to learn the truth of God. Their personal human nature, they are not able to teach the gospel of peace. That is the Adam here talking about. 7 days man is the son of man, English translate, but this is the son of Adam, which called the last Adam. About verse 11, we are going to study next class.